But then, you do not, the moment you've been taken to that school, what happened is that you will not even know which is your box. The matron has the keys to all the boxes of all the pupils in that dormitory. For a good reason, because really you cannot take care of yourself. So now what would happen is that normally when I narrate this, nobody would believe it, but toothbrushes, they were put in one container, and those toothbrushes, none of the brushes are written with one's name. They are not assigned to a certain name. And because this is one matron, she would only pick maybe someone who is older than you, one of you, who is older than you a bit, maybe by 1 or 2 years.
He's also blind?
Partially.
Oh, partially.
Yes, partially. And then she assigned that girl to distribute the toothbrushes. So you would be given a toothbrushes that you are lucky to have. Yes. Okay. They are not new. They've been used, mind you. Yes. So you can imagine how things were then. Yeah, but we struggled. Another thing that happened then, I remember, was that I was assigned to a standard 6 girl who again was speaking in my native language. Now her work was to teach me Kiswahili.
Okay.
Yes, to teach me Swahili at games time. She would come and pick me up from the dormitory at 3 p.m. when the classes are done. So we sit under a tree somewhere, and she tells me to ask any question that I have on matters Kiswahili. So I would ask him, now I would ask him in my native language, for example, what is mabati in Kiswahili? Okay. What do we call a wall in Kiswahili? Yes, but then in my native language. What do we call up in Kiswahili? Yes, so that is what happened. But I thank God, because in a very short period of time, I was able to master Swahili, and that means I could at least be able to communicate with my fellow pupils and make things work. Okay. Now I took 4 years there, from nursery, standard 1, 2, 3, I think up to class 4. Fee was a challenge. Fee was a challenge, even though the fee. The fee for the one term was 2,500. We were paying 2,500 per term. So about 8,000 per year. But you can imagine that was not easy for our side again. So I come from an humble family. Yes, so the fee was a problem, and it reached a point where the arrears had accumulated to about 20,000. Yes, and of course, those who were taking care of me were not able to pay that. And it means that I had to get out of that school. So I left, and I was taken to another public school, not the one that I was previously. I was taken to yet another public school for 2 terms. Good thing is that there was again a special education teacher, and there was one other pupil whom I found there who was blind, was being educated there. So at least I was able to use some of his facilities. And yes, I made through the 2 terms. I remember I was now topping the whole class, and at least this time round, I had a feeling that it was my input. It was not through guesswork. That was my input. Yes, I would be number 1, and I would actually feel that yes, I'm position 1 because I did well. Yes, and then.
So this was a regular school?
Yes, this was a regular school, standard 4.
Okay.
And then, but as I was doing this, my case had already been presented to one of the Catholic sisters in a missionary institution somewhere. Yes, the case had been presented, and you see, it's not easy to support for schools that take care of people who have a disability, and more specifically those who are blind. Yes, so at the end of the year, then, as I was finishing standard 4, a school was found, and it had to be a Catholic school, because this sister, many missionary institutions prefer working with schools that are Catholic sponsored. That is how I found myself in St. Order School for the Visually Impaired, Maseno. It is in Alwar, those places of Games, County. Yes, those who know Siaya will tell you of such a school. Yes, now this time round I was happy because everything was catered for.
Yeah.
And mine was just to study. So I thank God that is how I finished my primary school from standard 5 all through to standard 8. And then I went to Thika School for the Blind for secondary education.
Yeah.
And that was again a milestone. To me it was an achievement.
Yeah.
Because Thika School for the Blind is one of the schools that normally take in students who are visually impaired for secondary education.
Yeah.
Yes, so it is famous for that, and I'm happy that I went through that school. Fee again was an issue because I came to realize later that the sponsorship that I had was only going to sponsor me up to the age of 18. I mean, it sponsors students below the age of 18. Basically, it deals with children.
Yeah.
So I think I turned 18 before I completed secondary school. Yes, and that became a challenge because then again, my parents were given back the responsibility of paying school fees, which I can tell you up to date, they did not pay. And things just started working out by the grace of God.
Yeah.
Yes, because things got out of my hands. Things got out of the hands of those who were taking care of me, and everything was left unto God. So yes, I would be sent out for fee. I would come back with 1,000 bob or 2,000, because I would go to Thika town, make calls to anyone that I know.
Yeah.
And I would be given 2,000 shillings or 1,000 bob, and I would bring that money to school. And they wouldn't dare sending me back because they would at least understand that I came with something.
Yeah.
Yes, so by the end of my Form 4, by the time I was completing Thika School for the Blind, my fee arrears had again accumulated to 44,348.
Yeah.
Yes, and that means that even when I finished the KCSE and the results were out, I delayed going to college by 1 year because I couldn't be able to obtain the certificate.
Yeah.
Yes, and I even couldn't muster the courage of going to maybe bargain, so to say, so that I can get the certificate, bargain for that certificate. I only mastered the courage 1 year later because I realized that things were not working out. So one day I went to meet the principal. I talked to him, told him, I can't be able to pay these arrears. What we do, give me the certificate, let me go to school. Once I get the job, once I get a job, then I'll be able to come and pay back. Yes, I'll bring back the check, pay for myself. Yes, and that is how everything mine was released. But I think even as they were doing that, they were not necessarily doing that so that I'll pay later. I think they realized that I had done my best, and they did what you could call the CSR, corporate social responsibility. I think they did that. They made that decision under CSR. Yes. So then I went to KU, to Kenyatta University, did special needs education there. Yes, graduated, and since then I consider myself mature enough to handle life in the best way possible. Because yes, I've had my own challenges, but I'm happy so far. Because when I graduated, then it is now job hunting work comes in, which is yet another job. Yes, it has not been easy, but banking on patience, hope, and just waiting for your time.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what happened. I did that even as I kept on listening to the ground. Yes, quotes and quotes, listening to the ground, whereby what is being advertised where.
Yeah.
Yes. And so one time I found an advert with the Kenya Society for the Blind. They were looking for an intern on braille literacy.
Yeah.
Yes. And now, of course, as a blind person, you do braille. Anytime you are blind, for you to go through school, you do braille. So I happen to have done braille since nursery all through.
Yeah.
Yes. So I applied for that position and went for the interviews, and I was taken in. So I've been working there at Kenya Society for the Blind as a braille instructor, also doubling up as a orientation and mobility instructor. What happens here is that we seek to change lives of the newly blinded individuals who probably have lost hope on what next. Orientation and mobility aims at giving a newly blinded individual a level of independence. Yes, and we say that we may not be able to make someone 100% independent, because even for myself as a blind person, I wouldn't lie to you that I'm 100% independent. But we like saying that even as you wait for the society or whoever that is there to come and help you out, at least contribute some level of independence. So that, for example, if I want to go to town from this house, if I'm able to get out by myself, out of the house by myself, if I'm able to make my way downstairs, then that already is some level of independence that I have contributed. So that I meet somebody who is out there, and now maybe I can ask for assistance from there. Rather than waiting for someone to come and pick you from your chair, tell you, wake up, let me go and bathe you, let me help you dress up. So that is what we normally do, just be able to maximize on your independence. So at least if you have some 70 to 80% kind of level of independence, then you are good to go. And that is what has always happened. So that is what I do currently, and I'm happy because I have been part of change to quite a number of students who came to Kenya Society for the Blind knowing nothing. Some of them were even depressed. Some of them came at a time when they were planning to commit suicide. But this was immediately alleviated by talking to them and showing them the way. So as we speak, there are students out there who can be able to, you can find them in town. They're independent in their own way. They can be able to, run about their businesses on daily basis with minimum challenges. Yes, minimal challenges, and I'm happy about that. Yes, so that is what I do. And plus, I'm a peddler of hope. I normally consider myself as a peddler of hope. I can motivate people when that opportunity knocks. And basically, it's always my pleasure to change someone's life in a way or the other. Yes.
So you say that you motivate people, do you have maybe a platform or?
Not necessarily a platform. We do this as in groups. We identify people who are, I am more interested in at least changing the life of someone who has a disability, because I've been there myself and I know what it means. So we identify people who have disability, especially those who lost sight recently. We talk to them. We see how we can help them out. We identify opportunities for them. If this is someone who lost sight after Form 4, then it means even if he was called to the University of Nairobi maybe to do a course that might not necessarily work out with his current state of affairs, then it means we have to talk to him, advise him, and show him the better courses that he can be able to comfortably handle and get a job in the near future. Yes.
So you've just said about job hunting, and it's kind of a job where you're not being paid. So we have laws that are in line with persons with disabilities. So for example, we have a law that says 5% of the titles in the company should be secured for persons with disabilities.
Yes.
Do you feel that this is something that is being implemented, or how are the things on the ground?
Partly yes and partly no. For the reason that many organizations wouldn't really have a problem catering for a person who has a disability. This regardless of whether you are blind or you have a hearing impairment. the problem normally is the assistive devices. Normally, many companies wonder, how are we going to cater for this person? It is not really their problem that sometimes they might not even have a problem with your input. They know that you can, you are someone who can make an impact in a company. But then, how are they going to cater for you? For example, if you are blind, there are many, it takes a lot of things to accommodate a blind person in a working environment. There has to be, yes, any laptop or desktop, but then that software, be it JAWS or NVDA, many organizations, unfortunately, are not aware of that. They have no idea on how to cater for someone who has a disability, or more, someone who is blind. That is the reason why you will go to you will knock into so many offices. They will keep on postponing your appointments. Tell you, come next week. We still have to work on ABCD. Come next month. And as someone who has gone to school, you will get to understand that these people are not going to accommodate you. They do not really. They are not comfortable having you around, because they feel that with them not being able to cater for you, then you might make less impact in their organization. But on the other hand, I would say that there are some organizations that have comfortably done that, catered for someone who is blind. Normally, the problem with the 5% opportunities, it is unfortunate that disability in many cases has been, in many offices, has been defined as someone who is physically, who has physical challenges. Someone who doesn't have a leg, someone whose leg has been amputated, someone who probably doesn't have a hand or a finger. That is how disability has been defined in many organizations. So that when you go and talk about the 5%, they will call you 2, 3 guys, 4 guys who are on a wheelchair or who is in his crutches. But then you ask, have you been able to balance even the nature of disability in employment? So that yes, you have 2 people who are physically challenged, and where is a blind person? Does it mean that blind people do not go to school? No. The problem is assistive devices. So yes, we still have a lot of work to do. I'm happy that at Kenya Society for the Blind, we try to talk to, approach many companies. We offer these sensitization, we do the sensitization campaigns, sensitizing many companies on how to cater for a blind person. And that is the main work actually of Kenya Society for the Blind. That is one of the things that Kenya Society for the Blind does to ensure that people with visual impairment are catered for in their workplace, their learning institutions, so on and forth. So it's not that easy, but we hope that with time we can be able to conquer this. Yes.
Okay.